Nega Tambuse Kundabarega Dhamma Sambojjhanga Michi Boli SADHU Letri Pausa Video Shilling about it. Did Sayadaw Day Viriya Sambojjhanga Pure.
Yesterday, Sayadawgyi spoke about one of the 7 Sambojjhangas, Dhamma Vijaya, neither in brief nor at length, combining theory and practice. Today, in order, he will come to speak about the next Viriya Sambojjhanga.
Viriya Sura Palijiga Yamagaro Atok de Jobane Josare Sura Debe Edelup Yamare Divaro Sigaronia Pinelio Emina Kaumara Divaro Viriya Sura Vira Iya Vira Suraga Yeyentu Tu Yegong look over. Tu Yegong ye a beautiful. Tu Yegong ye Luama Lunga Gisa. That's what they be Yawa. Logama leve dependent of a decade solution. She don't have video, ye nebody. Samyalo, 2 years ago, I had a book or a shidro. Told to where good wing a twin iron, what is a twin iron? Then you have the Kilita Yang. Kilita Yane, she played with a decade there, Kama. Viriya going, come the law, Tazia be solution. Era leve Vira, 2 years ago, Korave. Yiji Ragaro, a Piempoku Yande, Kilita Yanga, Bobiro Sovare, Popular Soro, Piempoku, Yabu live the third car, Tapi let the Kalo Betanina. A 2 year near Lure a chimney go mail, Otaja body, Bawari Theo, Mera to a Soviet, Mera to a lonely rubber, Legada to what they said it up. Eddie Twayani, Mibo, the Yiji were. Eddie Twayani, Yesane Kama, Ye, the Yiji were. Guneta Mangaquia. Eddie Guneta Mangamaqua Ye, Soviet Pogo, Vira, to Yangon Korave. Do ye appeal to your looks on Jago, Viriya look Korave?
Viriya is a Pali word, and the translations in English, usually effort or trying, to try hard. And the literal meaning of Viriya is very interesting. It's made up of the word Vira plus Irya. That makes Viriya. And Vira is a word for hero, a brave person, a courageous one. And the word Viriya means what a brave person does, or their acts, their task. In the world, when there's fighting going on between one side and another, there are heroes who emerge at the time of this fighting. Heroes are needed, and so too, when one battles the inner enemies within one's being, the enemy called kilesas, when one battles these, to the extent one's Viriya is good, one can be called a hero. So, worse than the outer enemies that take the form of beings, the inner enemies are far worse, because the outer enemies, we only meet them occasionally and we can see them from afar, and they can only kill us once. But the inner enemies cause us to lose our virtue, to lose our morality, to lose our reputation, our dignity, and cause us to lose our life time and again. So one has to have courage when facing the inner enemy. One can't have any regard for life or limb, and such a person is called Vira, a hero. And what the hero does is called Viriya.
Viriya so the sakago Buddha Myaswaga Utsaha lo di lo Viriya temyo thong thada shiပါတယ် Utsahaဆိုတာကြိုးစားဖို့ကြုံတဲ့အခါတော့မို့ကြိုးစားနေတဲ့အခါပြကင်းကောင်းကျိုးရပါလိကိုယ့်အတွက်အကျိုးစီးပွားအစစ်မှန်နေပိုင်ပိုင်နေနေရရှိဖို့ရအတွက်ပါလိကြိုးစားနေတဲ့အခါကိုယ်ပင်မမှုစိတ်ပင်မမှုဆိုတော့ရှိမှာပဲကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲစိတ်ဆင်းရဲဆိုတော့ကြုံရမှာပါပဲအထူးသဖြင့်ကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲတော့ကြုံရမှာပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုကြုံလာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဆင်းရဲတာမခံနိုင်တဲ့တိကစိတ်နေတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတော့တွန့်သွားတော့ဗျာလီနာဆိုတော့ပါလိတော့တွန့်သွားရှေ့မတိုးခြင်းတော့တက်တော့တက်တာပဲနေကြတာပဲအရှင်းမြင့်တဲ့အရာတွေအကျိုးတွေရဖို့ရအတွက်တက်တော့တက်တာနေရတော့မရနိုင်ပါဘူးစွန့်စားရမှာပါကိုယ်လည်းပြင်မခံရမှာပဲစိတ်လည်းပြင်မခံရမှာပဲဒါတော့ကိုယ်ပြင်မစိတ်ပြင်မခံနိုင်ရရတဲ့ဟာတောင်ဖို့မရှိပါဘူးကိုယ်ပြင်မစိတ်ပြင်မနဲ့အဲ့ဒါတွေလည်းရင်းနှီးရပါတယ်ရှင်ရင်လုံးတရားတွေရှေ့ဘက်မှာရှိပြီးတော့ဗောလေဝိရိယနဲ့ရင်းနှီးရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါဥစ္စာဟဆိုတာအဲ့ဒီလိုရင်းနှီးပြီဆိုရင်ကိုယ်ဆင်းရဲစိတ်ဆင်းရဲဆိုတာကတော့ကြုံရမြဲပဲဆင်းရဲဒုက္ခတွေပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်တဲ့သဟနာတိခံရမယ်တဲ့စိတ်ခံမိတ်ခံရမယ်တဲ့လို့ဆိုလို့တဲ့အဲ့ဒါဥစ္စာဟလို့သုံးထားပါတယ်သူကတော့ဒါရဲရင်သူများရဲ့အပြုအမူလေးတွေကပေါ်လာတော့သူကတော်ရဲရင်ပါလားဆင်းရဲဒုက္ခနဲ့ကြုံနေပြီမယ်လို့သူကခန္ဓာကြီးအများကြီးရှိတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေပြရလေနားလေသွားတာပဲကိုယ်လည်းပဲနားလေလာတာပဲဒါလိုအနာခံတဲ့အတွက်ထိုက်တန်တဲ့အကျိုးတွေကိုယ်မှဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီအကျိုးလေးတွေကြည့်ပြီးတော့ပီတိတွေဖြစ်လို့ကျင့်တတ်နေတာတခါဟုတ်လားအခုဒီမှာတရားထုတ်တာတော့စွန့်စားမှုရှိရပါတယ်မစွန့်စားဘဲတော့မရပါဘူးတက်တော့တက်တာလေးနဲ့တော့မရပါဘူးသိပ္ပံပညာတွေစက်မှုသိပ္ပံပညာတွေထွန်းကားတဲ့တိုင်းပြည်တွေဆိုတော့စက်မှုကိုအမြင်ပြုတ်ပြီးတော့ဗောလေလူရဲ့အားဟာသိအသုံးမပြုရတော့ဘူးသုံးတဲ့အရာတွေမှာလူအားတွေမရှိတော့ဘူးပြုံးတီးကုန်တာဒီတော့အားနဲ့သုံးရမယ့်ကိစ္စတွေမှာငကိုကရိုးရိုးအလုပ်လုပ်လို့ရှိရင်ရိုးကြိုးစားလို့ရှိရင်ဒီဟာတွေကအားတွေအရှိန်နဲ့သွားနေတာကိုစမှုသိပ္ပံသိပြီးတော့အာကိုလုံးအားကြည့်တော့ပင်ကိုအားတွေဟာတခါတည်းမထွက်တော့ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့နည်းနည်းလေးပင်ပါမလုပ်လိုက်ရတာနဲ့ She's message. Because he has said, Jonah Loshi, that don't that other, Nijino Ravedama. To a simple taper, Tonga, Conga, Conga. Tavalo, anyhow, take Alcolona Pocoriga. Mimi go by Soy, Miyaji, just on the I told them, I go in Soy in the Ataware. Lupida on Lulo Sayadaw, Lutina, Civil, Luda Lupi on Juba Jaro. Take Amato General, they don't get our webstation. Some take one Nina Lemiana with the Logara. Goson Aguneta Yana in the air, so I had Nalia Valley. There goes one Aguneta Yana in the case of Yea, and the washi the look, Kakane, Jonah is Russia. Saying Jonah is Russia, Kanaye, Kanesia, Eri Kanesia, Palilo, Osaha, look over.
The Buddha used a synonym for Viriya, which is osaha. And this quality is described as when one encounters something, some difficulty, when one is engaged in work that is pure and clean and to one's own benefit. One encounters mental and physical difficulties, mental and physical suffering, especially physical. And when one encounters this type of difficulty, those who can't face that, those who can't stand up in the face of difficulty, the word for that is lina. It means that one just wants to be comfortable in that situation. One doesn't want to go forward. One is not able to advance in that situation if one has this quality of lina. So when we are working for our own true benefit, we can't just try to be comfortable. We can't just take it easy. We have to make sacrifices and we have to work wholeheartedly. So, in that case, we have to endure the mental and physical difficulties that arise in the case of doing this task. And for one who can reflect well about this, then one is intimate with Viriya. When dukkha arises, one needs to be able to endure it. When suffering arises, to endure and be patient. And this quality becomes apparent when one is doing this pure and clean work. So one understands that a courageous person is one who endures difficulty. When we see someone who's engaged in pure and clean work, and despite encountering difficulties, continues in doing that work, continues applying an effort in making this effort, that type of person is called heroic. That type of person is recognized as heroic because of this, what they do. And when one applies effort and overcomes the difficulty, then joy arises, piti, there's satisfaction. Here in the practice, one has to work wholeheartedly. One has to sacrifice. One can't just expect to be comfortable. It's good, so some countries of the world are very advanced technologically. And in such countries, people no longer rely on their own physical strength and mental strength even to do things. So what happens is that people's capacity to apply energy, to apply their own individual effort, weakens because of this. So when we're in a situation where effort needs to be applied, then those who aren't used to making effort in their lives, when they get a little bit tired, they don't want to do anymore. So although it is good to be advanced technologically, but what happens is that one's own individual capabilities can become weakened. When we are doing the work that can make us truly human, with human mentality and better than average human knowledge, this is work that only can be done by our own effort. And when we are engaged in this, to the extent that there is courage, one must also be able to endure. So with courage, while doing courageous work, one has to endure. And this ability to endure, this endurance, patience, is called osaha in Pali.
The Koyi Jimuji Ekanya Shibiro, Wunjin Gavali, whatever Ninja on Tinking Tang, so in that do they my sheep you day Jivara. Either was only that she was at least 2030 Yashi or Josaro, me solution. Okay, so that Joga Meve. That you can get Jonushi, yes, I may as well. That 2 years ago, 30 somewhere. The Atolo can to be solution. Very senior Tikame sort of Yella. Through Tikara, Chiniho, Joe Manashivara. Siago in Samiro Boli, Koyoshi on Joda, Kakari, Jodavi, Solution. Take Jinaya. Dilo Sweatatiha, Mana Joshi, so Nalero. Poor Biros, Sweatati, County Call, Joda. Joda Lavi Solution, Della Viriya, Della Kaimado Viriya, Yayamu, Kaimado Yayamu, that is Fella. Viriya, Shayala, Kaimado Viriya. Era Guepamalo, Suelu Covare, Sueria, Shila, Eddie Sue by Yofuya, Dreboli, Yogiga, but the Mazon body low the lesser, Belu, a sinny day am lesser volley, and a dinner Shimpia.
Everyone has the duty to develop the ability that is sure to bring to oneself one's own civilization. It brings to oneself one's own civilized behavior, and in doing so, one also contributes to helping the world. So everyone has a duty to develop this ability. And if one is engaged in this type of work, then it's sure that one is going to meet up with difficulties. So one needs to nurture this courageous mind, the courageous attitude that says, when I meet up with a difficulty, I'm going to face it. So that the courage of a hero must be nurtured. And when I meet with suffering, I'll bear it, I'll endure it. to do this is not worthless. It is valuable. When one meets up with an obstacle and overcomes it, one becomes very satisfied. And to the extent that one knows that this determined courage is beneficial, one works to make it more and more. And this is called Dhamma Viriya in Pali. This Dhamma means firm, and Viriya means courage. So this Viriya has momentum, it has power, and it translates, I think, best as determined effort. So to get to this place, to get to this point, what do yogis need to do? Today Sayadawgyi will explain this.
Eri Viriya thabo ha le be Viriya dhatu thabo ha le be asin 3 sin shiပါတယ် Te arama dhatu asa pyo choba athok mu Ni nikama dhatu pi mu ma lum yawအောင်ကြိုးပမ်းအထောက်မှုပြီးမှုမှာလွမြောက်အောင်တဆင့်တိုး၍ကြိုးပမ်းအထောက်မှု 3. ပရကမဓာတုပန်းတိုင်ရောက်တဲ့အထိအစစ်စစ်တိုး၍ကြိုးပမ်းအထောက်မှုတဲ့လူဆိုတာပန်းတိုင်ရှိရပါတယ်ပညာသင်လို့ရှိရင်ပညာရေးပန်းတိုင်ထားရပါတယ်ပစ္စည်းရှာလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပန်းတိုင်ထားရပါတယ် ကျမ်းမာစေခြင်းလို့ရှိရင်ကျမ်းမာရေးပန်းတိုင်ထားရပါတယ်လူဝိဆက်ဆံရေးကောင်းရင်လို့ရှိရင်လူဝိဆက်ဆံရေးပန်းတိုင်ဆိုတော့ထားရပါတယ်ဓမ္မအထူးသဖြင့်လူပိသားအောင်လူလိုစိတ်ထားအောင်လူသိညာရှိတော့လူထက်လူဖြစ်အောင်ဆိုလို့ဖြစ်ရေးမှာပို့ပြီးတော့ပန်းတိုင်ထားရပါတယ်ဥတီချက်သိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်သူတရားထုတ်တယ်ဆိုတာစက်တတ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အနေမျိုးမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ပေါ့လေလူပိသားဖို့လူလိုစိတ်ထားတတ်ဖို့လူသိညာရှိတော့လူထက်လူဖြစ်ဖို့ဆိုတာဒါလူတိုင်းမလွှဲမသွေဒီပန်းတိုင်ထားရမှာပဲသူကတော့ဒါအရေးကြီးဆုံးပန်းတိုင်ပဲပညာတွေတက်ပြီးတော့အခြေခံကိုယ်ချင်းတရားပြတ်တာတဲ့အများကြီးသာတယ်သူကတော့ဘွဲတွေရပြီးတော့အလုပ်ကိုင်နေတဲ့အဆင်ပြေပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေအကျင့်ပြတ်တာတဲ့စာရင်တရားအဲ့ဒီလောက်မရပါဘူးလို့ကိုယ်ချင်းတရားလေးတွေကောင်းနေတာသိကောင်းသိအဆင်ပြေတယ်အဖေဖက်ကအောင်မြင်သူဖြစ်ပေမဲ့လို့ကိုယ်ချင်းတရားတွေပြတ်နေလို့ရှိရင်နေရာမကျဘူးဖက်ဖက်ကမအောင်မြင်ပေမဲ့လို့ကိုအောင်နိုင်သူဖြစ်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒါကမှလူအထက်တန်းစားလို့ဆိုရပါတယ်ဓမ္မအဲ့ဒါကိုတန်ဖိုးထားရပါတယ်ဓမ္မနာပါ
The nature of Viriya is that it has 3 levels. The first is called Arambha Dhatu. That means the initial effort that we make, the starting effort. Second is Nekama Dhatu. That means increasing our effort a notch so as to overcome laziness. And third is Parakama Dhatu. That means the effort that advances stage by stage until one reaches one's goal. Humans should have a goal. Whether it's in getting an education or in getting things, making a living, or for our health, we may have a goal that we want to reach, or some people have goals in social ways. And especially, one should have the goal to become a true human being with a humane heart, humane knowledge, humane mentality, and with knowledge that is special human knowledge. This type of goal is even more needed. It shouldn't be just an experiment. this becoming a true human with a humane heart and better than average human knowledge, without fail, it should be a goal of ours. Sometimes people gain an education, but they may not be moral, or they may, after getting their education, get work, they may strive in immoral ways to better themselves. So, although one succeeds in many ways, if one does not have true human behavior, if one is immoral, then this is not good. On the other hand, one who masters oneself is the highest, and one should value this.
Tripitaya Jogo Mianolo Tambotaro Layavido Atobi Soya Eddie Joe Mitchim Jayago Go Mado Di Joro Mia they Piahotare a Jola with Sadilo with the 6 Saint Jares or Neramobana Saint Jay Lupida Lulu Sedata Lutia Judah Luta Lupita This Galia, even a countless Galia. Tito Lupita, Lulu Sedata, Lutia Judah Luta to people ya, to body. The lands in light on where solution. The Kaliana Meta Kore Miss Gong Series and Chinga, Sarina Lady, Bounce a bit of body. Shenlin, Pian, and the Kaliana Meta, Miss Go. That is shower. Chalo to be Soloche, Adipogorita, and Chinga Bido. Pitaimas, 3 views about it. Gurega Lenge Pore Ioni. Go ya Pome, Kansavurinari Pome, Sati Musum Chime, a charger at Wadi Muyari Chime. Shugun Jaji, Miaja, Sungu Jaji, Adi Shugun Jajima, did the Pore, Sugar Clary Valley, Poru Bozema. Swimmers of Mandabuya, Viriya Sayadaw, SADHU. A go no labiro, Mamma and Dero, Tiny Kama, 1 by Sabido, Pamu, to a ponte la Dalia. That is the Sayadaw only. The degree got all. I say, don't appear. It is SADHU Juba to go over. Paja dollars, it is the Yodo, don't appear. Put me to appear. SADHU Juba to Aramata to cover. A legion come Mayama Chiboli at the Lubu near. Senior Chowder Camera Chito Sika Vido, London Burma, Siglia, Asaya. Tale SADHU Juba at home. Piro, Juare, Chare, Tomo Juare, London Chare to Fibi, David body. Juare, Lanze, Chazem, how every machine that Bawari Dio. Tale SADHU, Aramata, lower Edama. A short 3 years, I only live a chance of Savido Mio. SADHU, Edama. Palima, let them see our Boligoro. A legion she did or looked at it of Miao, David Lopsy, Darago, a legion she did. That night of Mio, Joseph Mesure and in every Joseph Lucy, Aramata to Akona, SADHU Juba, Atabu, Hilarawe. A chance already, Money law, Viriya Ari, Pila, Rema, Kerate, Yichivare. Todo. Viriya Atusa Maro Kuru Chuaro Mapodebu Podebu Soro, the Karaka Yuma than the Pian Lepia Mavoli. Juba Mole Macamia Pian Lepia Mavo. Davine Buddha Hotararo Mane Suravoli, 6 Sinjebuya, the Johnny do Kai Suravoli. အကြောင်းမရှိဘူးဆိုတော့ပေါ့အဲ့ဒါလိုယုံကြည်ချက်နဲ့လုပ်နေလို့ရှိရင်အစာပြုတ်ကြိုးပမ်းအထုမှုဟာနည်းနည်းလေးအရှိန်ရလာတော့တာပဲသူယောဂီတွေအဲ့ဒီတိုင်းအထုနေတာပဲအရှိန်ရသလားအပြင်းထူတာတွေပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါတွေရော့သွားတယ်
When one cherishes and values the benefits of satipatthana and comes to practice, then one makes a start, but one hasn't gotten the benefits yet. One just knows from a theoretical standpoint, purity of mind is the benefit that comes from the practice. And this purity of mind, in doing this practice, one becomes a true human with a human mentality and this special knowledge which makes us an outstanding human being. And we know that to do this, we follow this path. So in order to do this, we need to approach a good friend, a kalyana mitta, a good spiritual friend who can teach combining the theory with the practice. And having approached, one has to simply observe every arising object, always guard the mind with vigilant mindfulness. And the things that arise are physical, kaya, their feelings, good or bad, neutral, and various kinds of consciousness and other types of objects. So there are these many fields, large fields of observation. And within the large field of observation, there are small individual objects arising. So one has to begin to make effort to observe. But one can't follow all these arising objects at once. So when we sit, we put our mind on the abdomen, and when the abdomen arises, we apply effort. We have to get the mind there, to where the rising happens. And when the falling happens, then also we have to make effort to get the mind there. So this is making initial effort. And it's the same with, until we gain experience, we just keep on having to apply our mind to get it there. And it's the same with every step we take. We have to put our mind on the leg every time we make a step. We have to make this effort. And lifting and placing, too. Every time we lift the foot, every time we place it, we have to make effort to get the mind there. Lifting, moving, placing, to know the nature that is there, we have to always apply this initial effort. So we make a start in trying. But because we don't have skill yet, most of the time we miss. But that's natural. So we just have to tell ourselves, this is the way it is. We just have to try to do what we can. And so we keep on trying. And our Viriya becomes good by doing this. So this is our initial effort. And our effort grows, but at the start, we haven't seen the benefits yet. So sometimes doubt enters our mind. But the Buddha said, this is the way to purification of mind, and there's no two ways. This is the one way to this purification of mind. In our initial work, so we keep on building our effort, and to the extent that we gain momentum, then the dense laziness is reduced.
အထုဆဆိုတော့ဝိရိယကအရှိန်မကောင်းသေးလို့ရှိရင်တစ်ခါမှာပေါ့လေစိတ်ကူးလေးတွေကိုကိုယ်ဝင်ပြီးတော့စိတ်ဓာတ်ကြီးကြတတ်တယ်ဟာအထုနေတာပဲထိုင်နေတာပဲရှင်းရှုံနေတာပဲဘာမှမထူပါလားဆိုတော့ပေါ့လေစိတ်အထုလည်းဒီလိုနေမှာပါပဲဆိုတော့ဒီလိုလည်းပဲအနာကပြစ္ဆုတ်ပါအချိန်လေးကိုထောက်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေအနာကကိုလည်းမျှော်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလိုပဲစိတ်ကူးလေးတွေဖြစ်ပြီးတော့စိတ်ဓာတ်ကြီးရောတတ်တယ်အပြင်းနဲ့လည်းဝင်လာတတ်တယ်ကိုယ်နာမှာလည်းရှင်းရတဲ့ကြုံရမှာလည်းပဲကြောက်လာတယ်ဒါဖြစ်တတ်ပါတယ်ဓမ္မအဲ့ဒီကကြောက်လို့ရှိရင်နိခမဓာတုတဲ့အဲ့ဒီပေါ်လာတဲ့အပြင်းကလွန်မြောက်တဲ့အထိဝိရိယအရှိန်မြင့်တင်ပေးပါတဲ့နောက်မဆုံးဘူးကိုယ်နဲ့တည်းမငဲ့ကွက်ဘူးဒီလိုကိုတော့ထိအောင်လုပ်မယ်အကျိုးသက်ရောက်တဲ့အထိလုပ်မယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေကိုယ်စိတ်ကိုကတင်းလိုက်ရတယ်ဒါပါပဲအဲ့တော့တဆင့်တိုးရိပ်အပြင်းမှလက်မြောက်မဲ့အချိန်လေးကနေပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေလက်မမြောက်ပဲနဲ့ရှေ့တိုးသွားတာရန်သူနဲ့တွေ့ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကြောက်လို့ရန်သူဆုတ်ကန်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ရန်သူကဖိလိုက်မှာပေါ့ရန်သူနဲ့တွေ့တဲ့အခါမှာကိုကအလေးကြီးရှိထားပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မစိုးရဘူးရင်ဆိုင်ရတယ်ကိုကနိုင်ွက်ကိုလည်းကြည့်ရတယ်တမထုတ်လို့ရှိရင်ရန်သူကဖိလိုက်မှာပေါ့တမဒီခါကျတော့သိရေးကြည့်တယ်ဒီတော့ရှေ့မဆက်ချင်တော့အပြင်းကဝင်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဝိရိယလည်းအရှိန်ကမမြင့်ဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပေါ်ပေါ်ဆဆလည်းဖြစ်သွားတာပဲစိတ်ကူးတွေဝင်ပြီးတော့အာထုမှမဟုတ်တော့ဘူးဆိုတော့တရားလည်းထွက်နေတာပဲတရားမထွက်တော့မှပေါ်ဆဆဖြစ်တာပဲဒီမှာဒီတော့ဒီခါမျိုးမှာအဲ့ဒီလိုအပြင်းလူမြောက်တဲ့အထိဝိရိယအရှိန်မြင့်တင်ပေးပါတဲ့မြင့်တင်ပေးလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီအပြင်းကိုကျော်သွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါနိကမဓာတုခေါ်ပါတယ်ဒီစင်တို့ရဲ့အပြင်းမှလွန်မြောက်အောင်ကြိုးပမ်းတဲ့ဝိရိယသဘောတဲ့ဓမ္မဒါယောဂီတွေမှာကြုံတတ်တာပဲ
At the start, if the momentum of our Viriya is not yet good, then thinking can come in and we can get depressed. One thinks, I'm trying. Nothing's happening. And another thing that can happen is we start to imagine what is going to happen. We think about the future. And then our effort drops. And one becomes unable to go forward. One gets afraid. So one has to have this stepped up effort. One needs to boost our effort a notch when this happens. And this is called nekama dhatu. So the mind has to can't back off. And also, we can't have this consideration for what can happen to our body, what can happen to our life if we make effort. So we have to just boost our energy and advance to meet the enemy. When we meet the enemy, when we encounter an enemy, if we retreat, the enemy will go after us. So we can't let that happen. We have to face the enemy. So if we are scared, then the enemy will get the advantage. So when laziness enters our mind and we stop trying, then one gets careless. And one thinks, this isn't beneficial, practicing is not beneficial, and then one decides, okay, I'm just going to go home, I'll leave the retreat. So in order to get over this type of laziness, then just boost your effort. And this is called nekamadhatu, taking your effort up a notch, up a level, in order to get over laziness. This is something that yogis encounter.
Uramya swaga amaganje beithavare. Satana visuddhiya. Ikayano me kore. Tatwari yoစိတ်အညီကျဲလေးတွေပေါ့လေကင်းဝေးစင်ကြယ်ဖို့ရန်တည်ကြတဲ့လမ်းကြောင်းတစ်ခုရှိတယ်အဲဒီလမ်းကြောင်းဟာကာယဝိညာဉ်စိတ်ဓာမ္မခေါ်တဲ့အာယုန်လေးချက်ပေါ်ခိုက်မှာပေါ့လေစွစွမြတ်ရှုမှတ်မှုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်ပဲလို့ဆိုထားပါတယ်နောက်နိုင်ငံသားတွေကဒီကြောင့်ဒီတော့ခီးဆိုရင်တိတ်မကြိုက်ဘူးဒါလွန်ခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ပေါင်း2500ကျော်ကဟောထားတဲ့တရားပဲဥရရှိပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကြီးရွယ်ဟောတာမှမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ဒီတော့ဘာမှမကြိုက်เสียလည်းမရှိဘူးမကျေနပ်เสียလည်းမရှိဘူးဒါလွန်ခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ပေါင်း2500ကျော်ကဘုရားသုံးသွားတဲ့စကားပဲဆိုတော့ဟောလေအနောက်နိုင်ငံသားတွေကအဲ့ဒီစကားသိမကြိုက်ကြဘူးဒီမှာအဲ့ဒါတွေထည့်ဟောလို့ရှိရင်ငါကတရားနာနေတာငါကတရားထုတ်နေတာတရားထုတ်မှထွက်သွားတယ်အဲ့ဒါတော့ဒီဖြစ်ပါတယ်တည်ကြတဲ့လမ်းစဉ်ပဲတည်ကြတဲ့လမ်းစဉ်စိတ်ညစ်ကြေးကင်းဝေးစင်ကြယ်ဖို့ပြီးတော့စော်ကားတဲ့အညစ်အကြေးတွေပေါ့လေစော်ကားတဲ့အပိုင်းထိရောက်သွားတာစော်ကားတဲ့အပိုင်းထိရောက်သွားပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်မှာမစင်နေပေလူရဲသလိုပဲအရင်ကြီးတွေပေလူရဲသလိုပဲတိတ်ညစ်ပတ်သွားတာပဲဒါပါပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုညဉ့်ညမ်းတဲ့စိတ်အရင်ကြီးတွေကိုလည်းပဲစိတ်အရင်ကြီးတွေလည်းပဲကင်းဝေးစင်ကြယ်သွားနိုင်ပါတယ်တဲ့ဆိုလိုတာကတော့စိတ်ထဲမှာဖြစ်တဲ့အရင်ကြီးရောစိတ်နဲ့ကျွလွန်တဲ့အရင်ကြီးရောကိုယ်နဲ့ကျွလွန်တဲ့အရင်ကြီးရောတိတ်ကြမ်းတမ်းတဲ့မစင်နေလို့ပေါ့လေအနာလဲဆိုအမြင်လဲဆိုအဲ့ဒါတွေပေါ့လေတရားရှိသူတော်ကောင်းတွေလက်မခံနိုင်တဲ့ဟာတွေပေါ့အဲ့ဒါတွေကင်းဝဲစင်ကြယ်ဖို့ရတယ်ဘလောက်ကောင်းတဲ့အမကန်ကျဲလဲဆိုဘလောက်ကောင်းတဲ့အကျိုးလဲဆိုတော့ကြည့်ပေါ့ဒါပဲအဲ့ဒီအကျိုးရဖို့ရတယ်အားထုတ်နေရတာအားထုတ်လို့တော်တော်လေးစိတ်တွေစင်ကြယ်ပြီးတော့ယုံနာလေးတွေပိုင်းခြားသိလာမယ်ကျောင်းနဲ့ယုံသိလာမယ်ကျောင်းကျိုးဆက်တရားတွေမမြဲပုံဆင်းရဲပုံသူသဘောတိုင်းသူဖြစ်ပုံဆိုတာရှင်သုံးသတ်တဲ့ဥပဒနာဉာဏ်ကြီးစလာမယ်ဆက်ပြီးတော့အားထုတ်နေလို့ရှိရင်အခုပြီးဖြစ်ပြီးတော့အခုပြီးပြတ်တော့တယ်အဟောင်းပြအသိဆက်ဆိုတော့ဗောလေခက်တွက်အသိဉာဏ်လေးတွေဖြစ်လာမယ်အဲ့ဒီအသိဉာဏ်ဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မိမိဥတည်ထားတဲ့ဟာနောက်မဆုတ်တော့ဘူးအကြောင်းမညင်ညွတ်လို့သာလျှော့လိုက်ရတယ်တရားကိုတော့လက်မလွတ်ချင်တော့ဘူးအဲ့ဒီခါကြလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီလိုဖြစ်ရတာဟာအစစ်စစ်ဝိရိယလေးတွေကတိုးလာလို့ဆိုတော့ဗောလေဒါပရကမဓာတုခေါ်ပါတယ်ငါကလည်းပန်းတိုင်ထားရမယ်မြို့မနဲ့ပန်းတိုင်ရောက်တဲ့အထိဝိရိယအစစ်စစ်တိုးပြီးတော့ကြိုးပမ်းအထောက်မှုတဲ့အဲ့ဒါပရကမဓာတုခေါ်ပါတယ်လောကီပညာပဲရှာပစ္စည်းဥစ္စာပဲရှာဘာပဲလုပ်လို့ပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီဝိရိယ30ရှိမှအောင်မြင်ပါတယ်အခုတရားထုတ်တဲ့အခါမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လူပိသားအောင်လူစိတ်ဓာတ်အောင်လူသိညာရှိအောင်အထုတ်တဲ့အခါမျိုးမှာတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့ဒီဝိရိယ30အရေးကြီးပါတယ်
The Buddha gave a guarantee. Satanang visuddhya ekayano mago. Satanang visuddhya. So this means the purification of beings, that is, the purification mentally of beings. This is the sure way to achieve this purification. The sure way is steadfast observation of the four kinds of objects: kaya, vedana, chitta, dhamma, matter, feeling, consciousness, and dhammas. If one translates this as this ekaya no mago as the one and only way, the one way, Westerners tend not to like this. However, this is what was said over 2,500 years ago by the Buddha. If we include this, then sometimes people even get up and leave the retreat. This is the sure way to mental purity, and it ends the violence that occurs, the transgression that occurs because of mental defilement. If one transgresses, this is like picking up feces and becoming dirty with it. So there's mental dirt, the defilements that arise in the mind, and then there's actions that occur as a result of this mental defilement. To clean this, to purify this, just consider how good this benefit is. We are practicing to get this benefit. And when one applies effort to observe the arising object stage by stage and comes to develop knowledge, when one's effort becomes strong enough, when one's mind becomes clean enough, then one starts to see. One discerns, distinguishes between nama and rupa, mind and matter. One sees how mind and matter are related as cause and effect. And one sees how this mind and matter, which are related as cause and effect, are not permanent. They are unsatisfactory, and they have no inherent self. This is the start of vipassana knowledge. So this, when our mind is clean, this is the knowledge that we can develop. And if one continues from that point, then one comes to see the very fast, fleeting arising and passing away of phenomena, how the old is continually being replaced by the new, one after another. So if one reaches this stage, then one won't back up, because one's effort, this is the stage where Viriya has gone up another level, and it has reached the stage where it advances, stage by stage, until one reaches the goal. So this is the third stage of effort. Whether we're working to get an education, or whether we're working to make a living, there are always these three levels of Viriya involved. And in this work of becoming a true human, with a humane heart, humane mentality, and special human knowledge, these three levels of Viriya are even more important.
ဒီဘက်ရောက်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပရကမဓာတုဆိုတာပေါ့လေအရှိန်နဲ့တွားနေတာပဲစိတ်ကနေမလားပေါ်ရဲအာယုံကိုမလွတ်တတ်မှတ်ဖို့ရာအတွက်အရှိန်ရနာအရတဝိရိယခေါ်ပါတယ်ရှေ့ပိုင်းကအစာပြိုးကြိုးပမ်းထုတ်မှုတဆင့်တိုးရဲ့ပြင်းမလုံးရောက်ကြိုးပမ်းထုတ်မှုအရှိန်ကရလာတော့ဒါအရတခေါ်ပါတယ်အရှိန်ရလာတော့ဒီပိုင်းမှာပက္ခဟဖြစ်လာပက္ခဟဆိုတာကအရှိန်နဲ့တက်လာတော့ဝိရိယကခုလည်းမလည်းရမနေဘူးရှားမှလည်းရမနေဘူးအောက်လည်းကျမသွားဘူးပြေးပြေးတက်လာတာကဲနောက်ဆုံးပရိပုံနာဆိုတော့ပြည့်စုံတဲ့အပိုင်းထိရောက်သွားမှာပဲဓမ္မဒီဘက်ရောက်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ယောဂီဟာသမ္မပဒံဆိုတော့သမ္မပဒံလုံလဝိရိယဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီအင်္ဂါနဲ့ပြည့်စုံလာတာပဲသမ္မပဒံလုံလဝိရိယဆိုတာမဖြစ်သေးတဲ့အကုသိုလ်တရားတွေမဖြစ်ရအောင် Jubiro Dasi Nine Swan Ari. Go my pilochi, Pimandi Rave, Pari Piedores or a volley. I Pimadi Luci, now allowed you, either in Pia or volley. Audo diari, Pevo leve, Uriari, Manga. If you put it, Tanchene, Udo diari, connoted a beauty volley. People young level, Asefuri, Pukauna. A shinga yala visual, Puyopa, Wayasra. Two video, gonna beg her prepona to Yokan Herave. Pillars are good to diari level. I come to the call, Juba Ato Hure. Tamabran Leva, so that I'm a polar or a babe. Eddie Tamabran Leva, ma. Eddie Tamabran Leva, Tibele, Dinia Tanama. Viriya Sambojjhanga look for Eddie Sambojjhanga, Tamabran Leva, ma, Eddie Viriya Sambojjhanga Pit of.
If one reaches this stage, then Parakamadhatu is just going along with its own momentum every second of the time. This is developed Viriya, Arada Viriya. This is where the first and second stages are the initial effort and the boosted up effort. These types of effort have gained momentum. And so this type of effort is called Pagaha Viriya. Pagaha means that it's uplifting. It doesn't stagnate. It always goes up and up. And it doesn't drop down. It keeps on going up until it reaches the max. And the final stage of effort is when effort becomes fulfilled. And this is called Paripurna Viriya. So at this stage, the type of energy that is being applied is called the four kinds of supreme, in some places it's called supreme effort, samapadanas. These four types of effort are first of all, the energy to prevent unwholesomeness that has not yet arisen, the energy to prevent the unwholesome akusala that has not yet arisen. And then if a kusala has arisen, one makes the effort so that something like this doesn't happen again. That's the second type of supreme effort. And the third facet of this is the energy to create, to generate the wholesomeness that has not yet arisen. And the fourth aspect is to increase, to develop, to make it happen more and more, the wholesomeness or kusala that has already arisen. So this is how our effort works. It is uplifting until it reaches fulfillment. So these are the four things called the four samapadana, the four types of supreme effort. One makes effort to... I skipped something. So one makes the kusala that is already arising, tries to make it better and better. So these four samapadanas are exactly the same as Viriya Sambojjhanga.
Tirusi Yopo Suraga, Pikoga, Nyatebiro, Viriya Mere Pokuha, Yunedai, Sisi Sasa Yu Tidivoli, Adoye, the Rindava Twinoma Twinamare, Chulavanapatino Twinamare. Nyatemia Piro, Josan and Chinishi, the Rindapalama, Twidebu, Soloche, Mimia. The European Levy. You did him loader, say such a loader, since I'm Miani, the Johnny or Shibi. The show yogi is a loche, Kamatan Pubian Bede, Poko, and Twitter Kama. Puro, Atote, as well, lady, she. Podviari, Malaluci, a column shiny away. A column teeny away. Tilupiosa. Partile Melucia, no editor, Mcjonno. Secune through a teeny house. Secune, by Medro, maybe to era a column ten. The large of the yogi, the two yogi. I don't know, go, I took it, her lady, ma. By Medro, maybe to the law of Nelo, my polity. Bore are you Mlotan Pantan Bido? The Bawadia lady Matibu Solution. The Missareka. The Zate Yota, a tone lady, a pack lady, Muabene, you child of Kenimo. The Zate Yola had a wire, warm Yada, Tweta, Yada Tita. They are told a lady dime. Podamia Yona Diarifa, Yada, Ture, Cozy the Bawari Chile. The Gili Mazolochi, Patuita, Mara, Piora, Jana Nura, Abo Mazolochi, Piora, Yusida, Sigata, Kera, Tizomasu Pura Nuera, Era, Wayomazolochi, Tauna, Tena, Lota, Say Mazolochi, Tira. Father Mazu Tira, when as we Kanzara or a body, a deity. So where my pare, Sajama pare, Yada Lue. I did the Bavari, a deity. Porea Maluma, the Bawama po Usoluchi, Yada net to let the Bawam Poluchi, Bayada she the rest of the team. It was a Baba who Loki, a tone known as Sada Sal, the Luton Tavare. I did the Baba Diaria, Sawema, Pala, a Tompality machine, a Yada net to the Kona, Makiluma, Bamanyama, Yada Mamadi Uso, Pena Majiluma, Bama the Uso, Juara Lana, Chara Majiluma, Bamanyama the Uso. Sorry, Doctor Kama, the Ritavito, Mazaro, Ayada, Matidru, Shito, Valera, Tiro, Malushi, Ayada, Po, the Bawa, Po, Omoli, the Bawa, Tinsha, Omoli, the Teacher of Pivi Malushi, Matai Matai, the Bavari, or Didi, Abave, Didi, how could he pure name? Tinsha, she went a pure name of them. Sequin pure yogi, era the Tajava, Tenila Dava, Tenila Dava, Sheni Dava. Teacher Miracle, Badawama, pure name of Sheni Dava. Era Jusa Java, Uneta Jusa Luci, Co Laya Ju Nama. You know, got the Chakuva, go tin and looked at the Chas of the Sheno, Poidu Becale, Bama Matanano, Lave. Poidu paid it, the Malis on the level, you didn't can you be a don't charge up. Let's sound so that you don't know can you are there. Then the Lord don't charge there, Dhamma Pia to not pay a book of winter there. Choose a Java, Dinero Dave.
When someone has good intelligence and they make effort, and they're respectful, meticulous, and work without taking breaks, within 1 week they can reach this stage. If one is intelligent and making effort and hasn't reached this stage within 1 week, then there's something missing, such as not respectful work, not working meticulously, not working continuously. For some yogis, they practiced different methods before, and they are attached to these methods. So for some yogis who are in that situation, they say things like, everything is really clear. I know everything that is happening. But if you ask them, okay, what do you know? They cannot reply. This shows that that this is just their imagination, when they cannot reply what it is that they know. This is just their thinking. So the yogis that Sayadawgyi is speaking about have been practicing for more than a month now. And if one doesn't know, in this practice where one has to observe the arising object with effort and accurate aim, if one doesn't know about the objects one is observing, this is like swallowing a lump of food without chewing it. So we have to chew the food that is in our mouth. And when we chew the food, the taste comes out of the food and we know the taste. So in practice too, in the objects, in the things that arise in our being, there are many types of true nature to be found. In the earth element, Patavi Dhatu, it has the nature of being hard, soft, coarse, refined. Apo Dhatu, the water element, it has the nature to be flowing, solid, sticky. The element of temperature, Tejo Dhatu, has the nature to be hot, warm, cold, also lightness. And the air element, Vayu Dhatu, has the true nature of being stiff or tight or tense. So the mind, too, it has the nature to know. Phassa, the quality of contact, has the nature to touch. Vedana, or feeling, has the nature to feel. So these are all like flavors that can be found in food. They are really there. So another word for these is sarasa. Sabhava is the first word, natural characteristic, and they are also called sarasa, the individual flavor of the Dhamma which is really there. So if one observes the rising and doesn't know anything about it, if one observes the falling and doesn't know anything, if one observes lifting, moving, placing, and doesn't know what is happening in the lifting, doesn't experience any of the flavors, lifting, moving, and placing, then this is like not paying attention to the food when one is eating. So, if one makes the effort to observe, to apply accurate aim, and to apply effort to observe, then every time one observes the arising object in this way, one will know. And when one knows, one will be able to say what it is that one knew. So yogis who are not able to say anything when they are asked what do they know about the rising, what do they know about the falling, or whatever object they observed, the yogis who say the same thing every day, what these yogis need to do is just to try to apply effort according to the instructions to observe the arising object with ardent effort and accurate aim. If what the then the yogis are guaranteed to, if they follow the instructions, this method is guaranteed. If what the yogi does is something different than the instructions, then there's no way we can guarantee. So Sayadawgyi asks, please use the gift that he is giving you. A gift is given so that you will use it. And if you use it, then the one who gives it will be happy. and it will be worthwhile to have given this gift. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu.